Welcome to another weekly Chronology live stream. Today, it is just me all by myself. Gretchen and Nick and the rest of the team are away at a conference, and so I'm going to handle today's live stream. So if there's a little bit of technical difficulties as we go along, it's because I'm trying to manage both talking to you and managing the logistics of running the show at the same time. So appreciate if you'd be a little forgiving if we run into any issues. But today I want to talk to you about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. And I think something that would benefit any family to go through this experience. And it's the concept of having a family mission statement. So in last week's live stream, I believe Nick talked a lot about company culture and how, any company that's successful typically is really intentional about the values and the culture that they espouse, and they put a lot of effort into it, and they integrate it into their hiring process and into their training and to all these other aspects of their business. And we often don't take that level of intentionality with our families. And I think the same is true if we continue to extend that metaphor into the idea of a mission statement. So before we get too serious, I want to talk about what a mission statement is and why it's so important for families. So I'm going to share this here. I believe every family should have a mission statement for a couple of reasons. There's 6 reasons I want to go over here. Number one, a mission statement is going to help you clarify your core values. It helps families identify and prioritize the values that they want to live by, such as kindness, respect, honesty, or education. And this can guide decision-making and behavior and parenting and the way that you interact with each other and with the people in your life. So really powerful tool to have. Let me see if I can choose a different layout here. I like that better. The next reason that a family mission statement is useful is it creates unity. A mission statement fosters a sense of teamwork and purpose within the family. It encourages everyone to work together towards a common goal. If you have a mission statement that says this is who we are and this is how we show up in the world, you're going to have a united sense of purpose. You're going to have a more cohesion and more kind of intentionality as you walk through life. The next reason a mission statement, every family should have one, is that it guides decision-making. This one is huge. By outlining the key values and priorities that you have as a family, your mission statement can serve as a compass for making choices, whether big, like, are we going to move to a new city, take this new job, or something small, like managing household responsibilities, or what extracurricular activities we want our kids to engage in. I recently heard a story. I'm going to hide this for a second. Oh, here we go. So I recently heard a story from one of our estate planners that we work with, and he was talking about how he had helped a family uncover their core values and develop a mission statement. And they ran this really successful family business. They were flourishing. They were doing really well. And this opportunity came up for them to kind of grow their business. There was an opportunity for them to make a specific manufacture a certain part that would be really profitable, and they could do it overseas for much cheaper. And they were deciding, like, do we take this opportunity, and do we outsource the production of this part and increase our margins, or do we not take this opportunity? And they were kind of waffling over it. They were arguing the pros and cons of both perspectives. And then somebody reminded them, hey, why don't we take a look at your family mission statement? Let's take a look at your values. And they were reminded that their number one value as a family is excellence. And if excellence required them to outsource the production of this part that could benefit their business, but it lowered the quality of the product or wouldn't allow them to deliver in the same way that they had delivered for their clients and customers in the past, it was a no-brainer for them to say no. Suddenly, when they filtered this big decision through their values and through their mission statement, the decision became very crystal clear, and they didn't even need to hear arguments anymore. So just a quick example of a way that can benefit your family. Let's see. Reason number 4, it encourages accountability. So family members can hold each other accountable by aligning their actions with the mission, ensuring everyone is contributing to the family's collective well-being. So if one of your core values is forgiveness, or what if one of your core values is empathy or connection, you can um, you can use those values or your mission statement as an opportunity to hold people accountable. Not necessarily in a negative way, but just kind of, I think, I mean, sometimes that might be the case. I think there's a real opportunity in families where instead of punishing bad behavior, we call people forward to their best selves. And I'm noticing that as I have two little kids, a 2-year old and a 4-year old right now. And I'm noticing that it is far more effective in my relationship with them to call them forward to the values that I want them to have than to punish them for the silly things they do as kids that may not be in alignment with our values. And so inspiring my kids, I think Simon Sinek says there's two ways to influence human behavior. You can manipulate or you can inspire. And manipulation comes through forms of like punishment or guilt tripping, or I mean, there's lots of ways to manipulate people. But one of the ways that we inspire people, the other way we can change people is by inspiring them and calling them forward to live into the values that they claim are most important or that are most important to the group is a really great way to inspire people to be their best selves. Another reason every family should have a mission statement is that it builds resilience. So a family mission statement can serve as a reminder of shared goals and values during challenging times, help families stay focused on what's important, and navigate conflicts more effectively. So I saw this as a truism when I got laid off last year. It was a really hard time. I was going through some difficult things emotionally and mentally. I really started to doubt myself. And when we dive into my family mission statement, or at least a kind of an overview of that a little bit later on, you'll see how my wife and I were able to rely on our core values and who we are as people and uh, who our values kind of call us forward to be, those aspirations of our values as well, how they played a role in helping me keep hope alive and helped us be patient in the job search until I found a job here at Cornology, and how helpful that was. So we didn't get sucked into the horribleizing and doom spiraling that often happens when you go through something really difficult. And the last reason I wanted to touch on is that it fosters communication. Developing the mission statement together as a family encourages open dialogue about what each family member values, and it helps to strengthen family bonds. Like there's something really, I guess I could I'm going to move my head off of the, let's see, there we go. Move my head off of the words there so you can see them. So there's something really powerful about everybody having a say in what your family mission statement is. And when everybody feels a sense of ownership, it opens up the lines, especially as you're designing this. And then in the future, as you implement this as a family, it opens up lines of communication where each family member gets a say. They feel a sense of connection to the mission statement. And then when they feel that connection, they feel a lot more of a desire to live it, to live their life in alignment with that mission statement. And they feel a lot more connected to it. So I'm a big fan of getting everybody involved in the family mission statement. And then another really cool way that it fosters communication is, like, especially as a parent, I've seen families start to use their mission statement as a way to train their kids to live into their values. So presenting them with hypothetical questions like, hey, you know how, I'm gonna hide this again. You know how one of our values is connection? Well, let's say you went to school and during the lunch hour, you noticed somebody was sitting alone and they looked kind of sad. What would it look like for you to live into that value of connection? Or maybe the value is something like courage. Okay. Um, you know how one of our core values, one of our parts of our mission statement as a family is that we have courage. Yeah. So I just want you to think about, like, what would you do? How would you show courage if, you had a job and you found out that all of your peers were getting paid a lot more than you to do the same job? What would a courageous person do in that situation? Or let's say you're at your soccer game and one of the players on the opposing team is kind of targeting one of your teammates, and you can tell they're trying to hurt them and they're being kind of a bully. What would somebody who's courageous do in, uh, in that situation? And so presenting your kids with hypotheticals with these hypothetical situations helps train their brain of like, hey, if I'm a person who has this value, this is how I want to show up in the world. And when you decide in your brain how you're going to show up in the world, and you train yourself through these hypothetical moments, when the moment arises for you to actually follow through on that in real life, you're way more likely to do that. So I really like that aspect of having a family mission statement, that it prepares you, that you can engage in conversations that prepare you to live into those values in the future. Um, Now, I want to speak to a little bit of the elephant in the room, because if you are just a regular person watching this live stream, you might be thinking like, yeah, I want to figure out what my family mission statement is. So we're going to dive into the steps of doing that in just a moment. But before I do, I want to speak directly to financial advisors or estate planners or insurance brokers or people who work in kind of the advising space, the space of what I would call trusted advisors, the people, the advisors that people turn to talk about things like their legacy, and to talk about things like who they are as a family, um, and and I want to talk to you about why it would be worthwhile for you to help your clients develop a family mission statement if they don't have one yet. Um, I'm going to throw this up on the screen here. So, number one, most obviously, is that it deepens your client relationships. Whoops. I This is the technical difficulty thing that I was talking about earlier. Oh, I just lost my share screen. Just 1 second here as I pull my notes onto the right screen. Okay, so I'm going to show this. All right, first thing we talked about is it deepens client relationships. So specifically, um, it gives you a holistic understanding of your client's values and goals. So a family mission statement can offer you insights into their long-term aspirations, their priorities, understanding what's most important to them as a family, and it allows the advisor you to build a more personalized plan for the family. It also helps families articulate their mission. Obviously, we've already talked about that, and this process shows that an advisor cares not just about you don't care just about your client's financial well-being, but you care about the broader purpose and legacy of what they want to create. And I think there's something to be said about a financial advisor's, like, you people in the if you're in the trusted advisor space, so much of the conversations are around finances, but we rarely talk about how some of the most impactful financial occurrences, like possibilities in life, the most damaging ones are often relationship related. Things like a divorce, things like a death, things like an estrangement from a child, things like a child who is kind of like failure to launch situation. There are a lot of relational issues that you can experience. I mean, if you have a lot of guilt and regret from how you treated your kids, a lot of people try and spend money to make up for lost time or lost memories. Like, there are so many different ways that our relationships, the quality of our relationships, can impact our financial outcomes. And if you want to think in the long term with regards to legacy, um, how sad is it for a parent to work really hard throughout their entire life to save up or to grow their wealth so that they can leave something meaningful behind for their kids, and then they pass away, and the kids, we've all seen this, the kids just fight over what they feel like is theirs. They are unkind to each other. It severs their relationships, and there's nothing holding them together after the parents leave. It's just uh, animosity, resentment, or even just apathy towards each other because they don't have this strong sense of unity. So not only are you helping them protect their financial, like their actual finances, but if their relationship's strong, then their legacy and their finances are even more protected, and their legacy is more likely to live on through the next generation. The second thing on this list is that it aligns financial goals with life goals. So, a family mission statement can guide financial decision making, and the advisor can ensure that the financial strategies, like their investments, their savings, their estate planning, align with their family's long term vision. Whether that's building generational wealth or supporting philanthropy or ensuring financial security for future generations. Now, I think a lot of people, I think, I think clients, when they say they want a personalized financial plan, and advisors are sometimes thinking about different things. That word personalized might mean different things. I think personalized to an advisor might mean customized. Like, I'm going to customize your plan just for you, and like make little tweaks here and there about how your investments, how much risk tolerance you have based off of that, or how much we want to diversify your portfolio, or like by when you want to retire, we're going to customize it that way. But what clients typically mean when they want a personalized plan is they just want to see how their plan is connected to what's most important to them. And if you can draw those connections, if you can draw those lines between the financial plan or the estate plan, or any other product that you're selling, if you can connect that to their priorities and their goals and their mission statement as a family, they're going to feel like that plan has been personalized. Um, it enhances long-term planning. That's the number three. We've talked about that just a little bit, but it doing this family mission statement, especially if you involve the whole family, gives you the opportunity to connect with that family in a meaningful way. Not just your main point of contact, but the heirs or a spouse who might not be as engaged in the conversation. This is a great way to connect with them, to build that relationship, and to ensure that you remain a client not only of your current client, but maybe of their heirs down the line, and of their partner should the main point of contact pass away. Um, it differentiates your services. That's the fourth thing. If you're providing something as valuable as a mission statement to your clients, and it's something that they hang on the wall and they refer to, and it's part of their conversations and how they identify as a family, they're going to think about you every time they talk about that mission statement, every time they look at it. And that is something that not a lot of these trusted advisors are doing right now. It's a really personal touch. It's really meaningful, and it can really separate you from the way that other advisors might show up. Um, it enhances client accountability. So this is a thing that I know a lot of advisors get frustrated with, is when you create a game plan with the client, and then they have to go out and do some work in order for that game plan to be realized. And oftentimes they don't follow through. And that can be really frustrating, because then they might judge you on the negative results or the lack of results, even though they're the ones kind of dragging their feet. And having a mission statement, being able to align your plan with their identity and who they are as a family and the outcomes that they want to have over the long term, will definitely increase the likelihood of them taking action on those homework assignments and following through on their commitments as well. And that will make them more satisfied, more trusting of you. So trust increases, satisfaction increases, loyalty increases. Another thing we're seeing here, referrals increase. Like, this is a great activity to drive all of those important numbers. And then lastly, it strengthens family communications and those family dynamics. Advisors often deal with sensitive family issues, particularly when it comes to financial matters like inheritance, succession, and succession planning. And helping to create a mission statement opens up the door for constructive conversations around these goals and values. So if you're noticing that you have a client where there might be some conflict, some apprehension, some stress, some worry around these financial conversations, engaging them and helping them identify their values and creating a mission statement around them can be a really positive way to make progress, include all those voices, and develop a stronger relationship with them. So now I want to walk you through the actual process of developing a family mission statement. The process is simple. It's 3 steps, and they're simple, but they can be incredibly meaningful and profound, and this just can be a really unifying experience to go through. So the first step is to get clarity around your shared values as a family. So this is one of the reasons I really like Chronology. There's a lot of different tools out there that you can use to identify your individual core values. But I've never seen a tool that allows each individual member of the family to identify their values, and then also shows you what are your values as a family. if you don't have access to a tool like this, I mean, obviously you could reach out to me, Nate@coreology.com. I'd be happy to help you out with that. But if you wanted to do this on your own, a way to do it might be to have every member of their family use a tool to identify or go through a process. There are a lot of different, like I know Brene Brown has one in one of her books. I've seen a lot of different kind of methodologies. You can use the methodology that you want to use, a card game, an online tool, and get everybody's top 3 to 5 core values, and then have them each pick the one that's most meaningful for them and put them on the kind of the family values. You could look for the ones that overlap the most, and those could be your shared family values. But I really like Chronology because it uses the math that we've developed, just kind of makes it happen automatically. So this is actually what you're seeing on the screen. This is my shared core values between me and my wife. My kids are too young to do this right now, so this is just between the two of us. So our top 5 core values are empathy, connection, courage, gratitude, and health. Now, once we have those shared values, the next step is to start sharing stories about specific values, standout moments where we were living those values and it felt really good, or we saw somebody else living one of these values and it made a really strong impression on us. And it's like, what are those most impactful moments that we associate with these values? So something like empathy, feeling for the situation of others, sensing and sharing their emotions. My wife, her career has been she's been a nurse her entire career. She's an incredibly empathetic person. She's won awards for the type of nurse that she is and how well she takes care of her patients and how much they love her. And she's shared some really cool stories about that. And then I spent a big chunk of my career helping people with their relationships. I was a marriage researcher. And I've talked to countless couples about their struggles in their relationships and sat with them as they talked to me about some of the most difficult things that they had been facing and helped them come up with solutions. And so both Angelin and I are healers. And so empathy, it's no surprise, it was at the top of the list for us. And as we looked at some of these moments, we realized there was a theme that both of us had a commitment to what we would, I guess this is the, I'm not going to jump to the next step yet. I'm going to share one other example. Courage. So a story of courage for me was that I shared with my wife, and this was really emotional. And I hope I can kind of keep it together as I share this. But when my newborn daughter, so about a year and a half ago, we had a newborn baby. And she was about 4 months old, and my wife had gone back to work, and it was the first time she was crying. She was obviously hungry, and I fed her a bottle, and it was the first time I had given her. She had formula. In the past, she'd always had just breast milk, and so I fed her this formula. And then about 2 hours later, she started vomiting really aggressively, like not just spitting up like a normal baby does, but it was like projectile vomiting. It was really scary. And then she started to go kind of gray and limp, and her head was bobbing around. And it was very obvious that something was wrong. And I didn't know what it was. And my mother was there with me helping to take care of the kids. And I was freaking out. And we ended up calling 911. And the ambulance came, and the paramedics came in and got her on oxygen and rushed her to the hospital. And they stabilized her. And they could not figure out what had gone wrong with our child, what was wrong with her. But they assured us that it was probably just a fluke accident and that it probably wouldn't happen again. And then a few weeks later, once again, same situation. My wife was at work, and I fed the baby a bottle of formula, and you can kind of put the pieces together. The same thing happened again. I had to rush her to the hospital. I experienced some pretty bad PTSD afterwards. It was like really affected me. I felt like I was holding my baby as she was dying in my arms. And those two experiences, what we ended up finding out is that she has a food allergy to dairy. And it was a really scary moment for me. Both times I felt like I was losing my child. And as I've processed that in therapy and talked about it with my wife and learned a little bit about myself, one of the things I acknowledged, and one of the things that was really interesting, is that this value of courage wasn't on my top 5 previously. But after having this experience, courage popped up on the map for both of us. And courage is doing something that's difficult in the face of obstacles or potential suffering or loss. And I realized that through that experience, I did the right thing. Like, I got my baby the help that she needed, and she's alive and she's well. And now we know what's wrong with her. But in that moment, I was really afraid. I was really scared. And now I realize how important courage is to me as a father. Like, I want to be able to do the hard things despite my fears and my reluctance and my anxiety. So that's become an important thing to me. So if we, as my wife and I started sharing these stories, which was the second part of developing a mission statement, the third part is to take one step back, to look at these stories on a broader scale. Let's see if there is. I chose the wrong one here. And the goal here is to see if there is a theme to all of these stories for each specific core value. What is the theme here? So for empathy, the theme was my wife's a nurse. I'm helping people with their relationships. We had a lot of other personal stories of moments that were impactful for us around empathy that we shared with each other. And the theme emerged that empathy for us as a family was doing our part to alleviate unnecessary suffering in the world, especially with those around us. So if there's somebody in our life who's going through some sort of hardship, some sort of struggle, and there's something that we can do to help, we want to make that offer. We want to be there to help out. Something as simple as if somebody's having car trouble on the side of the road, I don't have to think twice. I can pull over and I can help that person with their car, or see if they need some support. If somebody is sick and they need a meal, or they have a newborn child, or they just need a babysitter. There's like all these different situations where people might be going through some hardship, going through some struggle. And if we can lend a little bit of a helping hand and alleviate some of that suffering, that's who we want to be as a family. Another example is let's see, connection. So we started talking about the moments where we felt most connected to each other. We started talking about the memories that we have, and like what connection means to us. And as we shared those experiences and shared those memories, we took a step back and we realized that in large part, connection for us was the realization that people are more important than things. Making memories and experiences and building relationships is way more important than just tangible objects in our life. And so we've made it a point around like Christmases and birthdays to plan specific, to plan our lives and our gifts and things around relationships and memories, instead of just filling our lives with stuff. And that's been a really meaningful and rewarding thing. And so that's the three-step process. You got to first identify those shared values. I'm going to take this off the screen here. So step one, what are our shared values? Step number two, identify some stories and experiences that are meaningful for each specific value. And then step number three, take a step back and look at what the overarching theme is for those shared values. And as you do that, you'll come out with, if you have between 3 and 5 shared values and maybe 1 or 2 statements for each, you'll come out with a really, really personal, meaningful, and impactful family mission statement that can help get like values. Who was it? I think it was Simon Sinek that said values are verbs. They're action words. And I think oftentimes we use them as nouns. We just say like, oh, connection. We say health. We say justice. We say creativity. Like that's our value, but we don't define what it looks like for us to live that value. And that's what a mission statement is, from my perspective, is what does it look like for us? Like the identifying the values is one thing. When people take the Cornology assessment, when people find out what their core values are, it can be really empowering and great. But then the next question is, well, now what? What do I do with these? Well, you got to turn them into verbs. You got to figure out, what does it look like for me and for our family to live into these values? What does it look like for us to embody these? What does it look like in our relationships with each other? What does it look like in our relationships with our friends and our community and the world? What does it look like in times of tension and anxiety, when we're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, or when we have big decisions or confronted with conflict or obstacles or challenges in our life? How are we going to live into these values? And this mission statement can be the template. This mission statement can be the inspiration. It can be like family scripture. This is who we are. This is our North Star. This is how we're aligning our behaviors and our choices and our goals. And it can create a lot of clarity and unity of purpose as a family. And I think it's a really beautiful thing, not only an experience to go through, but if you can, print this off and hang it on your wall and make it a part of your vocabulary and refer to it often, I think it can be an incredibly impactful thing to have for every single family. So if you're watching this and you're just a regular old person, you're not a financial advisor, and you're like, man, I really want to have a family mission statement, I would love to help you. Feel free to reach out to me. Here's my email address. It's nate@corenology.com, or you can just visit the website, corenology.com, and fill out the contact form there to learn more about that. And we can talk about how we can take you and your family through the core values assessment to identify what are your individual core values, what are your core values as a family, and maybe even have a conversation about developing your own mission statement. And if you are a trusted advisor, if you're an estate planner, if you're a financial advisor, if you work in that space, and this is a conversation that you want to start having with your clients, if you want to help them clarify what their mission statement is so that you can build a deeper relationship, so that you can build more trust and satisfaction and loyalty with them, you can use conversations like this as an opportunity to get referrals. If it's a really positive experience, you can use this conversation to connect with the next generation of clients, to engage a disengaged partner. If that sounds like something that you want to do, please reach out. I'd love to talk to you about how we can help integrate this into your practice. And our goal ultimately is just to help families be more aligned, to be more intentional, to be more connected, and to help them thrive and grow and develop legacies that continue on for generations. I think a family mission statement like this is something that can be taken from one family to the next and maybe adapted each generation, but it's something that can be incredibly powerful and have impact for generations to come. And to me, that's something that's really exciting. So I hope you enjoyed today's live stream, and I hope you take advantage of this little 3-step process of creating your own family mission statement. And I would love to hear any thoughts that you have down in the comments, and we will see you next week.